What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from sunny St. Louis, Missouri. I think it's pretty sunny. It's still kind of early, but I think it's the weather looks not too bad today. Hope everybody out there is having a great day. I know I am having a great day. I'm having a much better day than yesterday, or at least a much better morning. So yeah, I'm feeling good today, feeling rested, feeling recuperated, and I am ready to stream all over you fine people. So let's go ahead and get into it. Since the last time you saw me, let's see, what did I do? I ended up going and picking up Panda Express just because I was like, I'm craving. When I get a little bit hungover, like I said, I wasn't like super hungover or anything. I was just like tired. Like anytime I have like more than probably 3 beers in a night, or like 3 or more beers in a night, like I'll usually the next day I'll just feel tired and not want to do anything. But another consequence is that I am always like, I just want to pig out on like some, like, I don't know, some like terrible for you food. And so I went to Panda Express. I got that. And I also, what did I do? I picked up a couple lawn chairs at Habitat for Humanity. I just went to Habitat for Humanity just to like look around and see if they had anything for cheap. And I found a couple lawn chairs that were, they were $5 a piece. So I was like, sure. So got a couple new lawn chairs to set out. And then, yeah, I picked up the food, came home, pigged out. I took a nap, or I was going to take a nap, but then I forgot we had a guy come in to look at our roof to see how squirrels were getting in. It turns out he's pretty sure that it was the squirrels are just getting into a chimney. And so there's not that much like damage that they can do from that. Like, so in terms of like, it's not like they're able to like tear up like insulation or anything. So it's not the biggest deal in the world to get it taken care of immediately. Obviously you want to eventually, but we have so many plans for our roof at this point that it's like we're probably not actually going to get to that till next year, because we want to essentially redo the entire like flat portion of our roof. So that's probably not going to happen until next year. So I think I'm just probably going to deal with the sounds. As long as I know they're not like causing a bunch of damage, then I don't really care that much. It's the anxiety of them like tearing up insulation, and then I have to go in and or like I have to take down a wall or something to re-insulate it. It's like I that sounds like fucking awful. I don't want to have to do that. So So yeah, so there's that. But so kind of good news on that front, actually, to be honest, because I don't have to, like, if I want to get the chimneys capped, I'd have to get them remortared first, which I want to get I want to get some of this stuff tuck pointed at some point. That's something that I don't want to do myself, because our house has 2 stories. It's like brick, and I don't want to be up on a ladder doing the higher up stuff. I could do the tuck pointing on the lower, the lower portion of the house, like the first floor, but I don't really want to do it on the upper portion. I get a little bit scared when it comes to being up high on a ladder for long periods of time. I'm like, it's just like you're asking for something to go wrong eventually. Let's see. Then after that, what did I do? I just played some more Slay the Spire. I beat Ascension 9 with the silent off stream, so that means I just got Ascension 10. And if you people are lucky, if you're good, and I feel like it, then I'll do maybe some gaming after this. Like I said a bunch of times, this is my week off, so I can stream as much as I really want to. And then also at the same time, me and my wife started watching. We're taking a quick hiatus from Stargate, and we're watching that show. Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen by the Duffer Brothers. My wife loves Stranger Things, so and she's like, she liked the whole thing, except for like the season 5 was a little disappointing, even for her as like a super fan or whatever. But yeah, she still likes everything the Duffer Brothers do. So so we're watching that. So far it's been okay. My main we're on episode 5 right now, and my main qualm with it so far is that I think they revealed all the information a little bit too quickly. and a little bit like I wish they would have drip fed it a little bit more, because it felt like everything was so mysterious for the first 3 episodes, and you're like, what's going to happen? And I had all these theories. I was like, is this like a Get Out situation? Are they harvesting the brains of these people for the rest of the like they're harvesting brains of these people for the family or something? Like what is going on? Like are these dogs, like I was thinking like, oh, the dog is like, they practiced, like they transferred the brain of their old dog into their new dog or something, like, you know, like I had all of these theories and stuff. And then everything is essentially explained, right? Like in like episode 4 or so, I think, like of what exactly is going on. And I think that is like a problem that a lot of, well, okay, it's what I call like the American Horror Story problem, right? Where the first half is like mysterious and like crazy and you're like really invested, and then they reveal everything, and then it feels like the last, you know, the back half of the season is just like a bunch of like I don't know, it's kind of like almost unrelated and not suspenseful, and like I don't know, that's like how I have a problem with shows doing that. I feel like that's like a kind of trope nowadays that people do, where they but I'm hoping that you know, I'm hoping this one can still build the suspense, and like maybe it'll be different, maybe it won't be like, you know, American Horror Story, but yeah, so there you go. That's, I guess, my initial review of the first 5 episodes of it. And then, yeah, after that, I went to bed, woke up, worked out this morning. I did upper body, felt pretty good. Went up on my incline bench, which is, you know, that's one of the big lifts. So, you know, pretty decent with that. Hoping I'll be able to motivate to do a leg day tomorrow. We'll see. And then I made some coffee. I forgot to make my protein shake. Oh, well, too late now. I'm already streaming. I'll have my protein shake later. So I made some coffee, and then I came up here to be with you beautiful people, with you, the viewer. Hello. So today we're going to start off with news of the day stuff, you know, just a normal, technically Clay stream. And then afterwards, like I said, if I'm feeling like it, I might do a little bit of gaming, try to beat Ascension 10 on Slay the Spire, that with the silent. So I figure let's just start with news of the day, and I wanted to start with this one. So let me make sure I got it. Okay. So yesterday, this was really crazy to me. So yesterday, the DNC finally decided to release the autopsy that they had been hiding from the public for like years at this point. I think like 2 years or something. And there was so much discourse around this because, okay, most people, like most of the analysis that has come out after the fact has like indicated that like Kamala's like inability to break from Biden, particularly on things like Israel, Palestine, and the economy, were like the major factors for people like depressing the vote within the Democratic voter base or whatever, right? And essentially, like, I mean, it's essentially been all but guaranteed that those were the main problems that caused Kamala to lose lose the election. I mean, there's obviously like a million things that go into the terrible decisions that they made, but I think that those two are kind of the big ones, along with the, you know, constant pivoting to the center. You know, we've never tried true centrism type of mentality. I heard Hassan say that the other day. That was pretty funny. The true centrism has never actually been tried, but yeah. So when this, they finally last night just said, like, fuck it, we're just going to release the autopsy. The discourse around the fact that we're hiding it is like becoming in itself like a negative, you know, a negative thing for the party. So we're just going to put it out there and, you know, let the news cycle run through it. And then afterwards, people will stop talking about it, which probably is what's going to happen eventually. So when I saw that it was released, I went and looked it up. And actually, let me just show you what I did. DNC Autopsy. Okay, here's what I did. This was the article that I read, just the release of it. And then what I did was I went over here and I searched Israel. And I searched and I saw no matching results found. And then I searched Palestine. And then I searched and then no matching results found. That is what I did. And then I determined from that initial analysis that this was bullshit. This autopsy that they released was complete and total bullshit. Because if they were, even if they were like, if they wanted it to, like, if they wanted to not put that narrative out there that Israel and Palestine were an impact on the election, you still had to do the analysis. You have to do the analysis and make the argument. I know that these people, Ken Martin or whoever did this, I know that they did not want to put Israel-Palestine stuff in this autopsy. But if you don't even have the courage to do or not courage, but if you don't even have the fake integrity, like the way to try to make yourself look more look like you have integrity of just like doing the work to ask people and then trying to manipulate the narrative after the fact, well, then this is a bullshit report. You didn't try, you didn't actually do anything. And so it turns out the reason that they didn't, they were kind of right. There was nothing in this report because it was all bullshit. So anyway, this is I'm front loading this a lot. Let's go ahead and watch this video from NBC News about calls grow for DNC chair Ken Martin to resign over 2024 autopsy. Yeah, he probably should resign, but let's go ahead and watch it. We'll see what they say.
We mentioned the Democratic National Committee has finally released its long-awaited autopsy report of the 2024 election. It follows months of speculation about what the report would say about what went wrong for Democrats and how Vice President Harris lost the race to Donald Trump. And it comes as Democrats are trying to carve out their path for 2028, with a source telling NBC News Harris is, quote, thinking about another presidential bid.
Ew, no.
DNC Chair Ken Martin has been...
No. Kamala, no. You can't do it. Surprisingly, Democratic voters, they do not reward failure. they once you have the stink of failure on them, once they have the stink of failure on them, the Democratic voter base, it turns on you pretty hard. So that would be a complete and total disaster. She doesn't have it. She's a politician of a bygone era. And yeah, it's not, no, please, dear God, no, we do not need another Kamala Harris, brat summer to follow up the last one.
Been facing pressure for months after he first promised to release the report and then reversed course.
What's in the report that you wouldn't want
to publicize? There's no smoking gun in the report. And I know that's what everyone's so eager to learn. The smoking gun. Guess what?
That's true. There was no smoking gun. There was nothing in it. I've also seen that there's been complete and total factual inaccuracies. They just... some people are saying they chat GPT'd it. I'm sure they did probably for some of it. But yeah, it seems like just a failure of incompetence at a spectacular level. But you do not make it this far. You do not make it this high up in the DNC, the DNC machine. If you are not incompetent, you have to be incompetent to make it this hard up. This is why Republicans and Democrats are completely different. One of those aspects where Republicans and Democrats are completely different, because Republicans truly want to win, right? They want to win, they want to take power, and they want to do everything that they possibly can to win. And Democrats are not. They do not want to win. They are supposed to be controlled opposition. And because they are both both Democrats and Republicans are fundamentally owned and operated by the same forces of capital that sits on top of both of them. So one side, the Republicans, are always pushing for more capital accumulation and more for the wealthy and more money and less hands, right? That's the Republican Party's like brand. The Democrats are supposed to be controlled opposition to that, where they say, well, maybe not all of the money to the billionaires, just like 90% of the money to the billionaires. And in order to facilitate that, they have to twist themselves into knots and like intentionally they will never want to win on the terms of the people who are voting for them, right? Like the actual progressives, door knockers, like the activists, those people who are like, we want specific things that will help the working class. And the Democrats have to play this game where they have to pretend like they want that stuff, but they have to never actually deliver that stuff in order to and so that just leads to them like, you know, jumbling up their message, like completely twisting themselves into knots over and over again. And and so in order to like in order to rise up in a system like that, where you're not truly supposed to win a mandate and you're not truly supposed to win that like by a huge margin, and you're supposed to just like barely squeak by. And if you do squeak by, you can't actually, you're not allowed to do any of the policy positions that people would have ascribed to you, right? Like you must, the only people who make it to the top of the DNC machinery and the consultant class are incompetent and are like trying, like, I mean, I don't want to say they're intentionally trying to get the Democrats to lose, but because of their the ideology that's necessary inside of those inside of those circles, they are ideologically tied to Democrats losing. They don't want to win that. They don't want to win in the same way that Republicans want to win. You'll notice that when Republicans, like when the Republican base actually wants something, the Republicans lean super hard into that because they know that that's a popular way of like building momentum and building support for their party. Whereas when Democrats, when their base wants something, and the Democrats push them away because they don't want that popular base, they don't want that popular support. And so so you're never going to rise to a level of like Ken Martin or whatever inside of this machinery without being like incredibly incompetent.
John.
But if there's no smoking gun, why wouldn't you just release it then?
Because we want to keep the focus on the lessons.
The DNC released the report today after CNN obtained a copy, with Martin saying in a statement, "For full transparency, I am releasing the report as we received it. It does not meet my standards." He adds he's doing it because people need to be able to trust the Democratic Party and trust our world.
I will say this is the right move, though. If they want people to finally move on, like this is the right move. It'll be bad press for a little while, but it probably will go away eventually. But the problem is they never did an actual autopsy, though. They never did like a real autopsy, like one that like asks, you know, all of the questions that would be necessary if you actually wanted to win in the future, because they don't want to win. They don't want to win that bad. They don't want to win bad enough. They don't want to win on terms that they do not get to set, aka like, you know, anything that would challenge their donors. Like they do not want to win on those terms. And so here we are. We don't have an autopsy. We don't have like, or a real autopsy. We will never be able to, you know, try to make changes based on that information. Now, to be honest, I don't need the autopsy. I know why the Democrats lose. They lose because the same way they always lose, by pivoting to the center. Like that's how they always lose. So I know why they lose, and I don't really need the autopsy to tell me that. It would be nice to have that data. But yeah, whatever. It's whatever. We know the direction the party needs to go, and we're going to take it there, whether these, you know, corporate ghouls like it or not.
NBC News.
And you're going to Ken Martin, listen to me. Democrats are going to win whether you guys fucking want them to or not. Like that's what I'm telling them. We're going to make them win whether you want them to or not.
We need to be able to trust the Democratic Party and trust our world. NBC News has learned that Martin called DNC members today to apologize and said that the author of the report is no longer with the DNC. Joining me now is NBC News senior national politics reporter Natasha Korecki. Natasha, thanks so much for joining us. I know you have been working on this day in and day out, and you've been working your sources today. What more are you learning about what led to the decision to release the report today? Why did it take so long, Natasha?
He finally succumbed under pressure. When I say it's DNC chair Ken Martin. One of the things that he said in a call, and we reported this earlier, one of the things he said in a call to some of his members today was that he could bear it. He could bear all the pressure. But what he started seeing was that potential 2028 contenders were getting asked about the autopsy, and it became bigger than him. And it became such a
Guess what? It wasn't pressure from actual people that caused this to happen. The Democrats will go every single day against their people, against the voters who are a part of their a part of their party, right? They will go day in and day out and do the exact opposite of what their voters want. But guess who they will never go against? Their donors. So I'll tell you what happened here is that they started getting fundraising issues. They started getting questions from their donors asking what was in the autopsy. We're not going to give you money until you release the autopsy. That's what happened. Is the people who actually matter, these ghouls, their actual constituents, the donors, said we're gonna stop giving you money. And so he said, okay, fine, I'll just put it out there. That's what actually happened.
a distraction, and it was doing exactly what he was trying to prevent from doing. So he did release it. We also reported exclusively that Governor Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania governor, spoke with Ken Martin last week and also pressured him. We also reported previously that Kamala Harris asked him to do it. And as you have reported, Cory Booker also called on him to release this report. So he's been under enormous amount of pressure to release this report.
Yeah, that is a mountain of pressure that you lay out there, Natasha. So you've been looking into this report throughout the day. What are the biggest takeaways here from your perspective?
Well, there are many.
I'll tell you the biggest takeaway. Nothing. There's nothing in there, dude. It's nothing. It was so much garbage, man. It was yeah. I mean, I only skimmed over it. I didn't read all 190 pages. And I'm also just like, giving my analysis based on, other news sources that have covered it, like what I've seen. But yeah, there was like nothing in there, man. It was the most nothing burger thing I've ever seen.
Many takeaways. One of them is they started too late with the negative advertising on Trump. They didn't land the negative ads. We're not landing the way.
Okay, negative polarization will only get you so far, though. I mean, I don't disagree that it would help to be more aggressive in your negative framing against the Republicans and Trump. I would say stop pretending like the Republicans and Trump are different. That's another thing you could do that would help your messaging. But okay, sure. I mean, I guess, yeah, you can spend more on that, but you're still missing the core part is you don't have a vision for the future. What was Kamala's vision? Can anybody out there tell me? Anybody? Tell me, what was Kamala's vision for the future? What did she want to do to materially improve the lives of, everyday Americans? What was her plan? Dude, I'm a terminally online politics guy. I don't even remember what her plan was. Like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Way they did, but they took too long. That was one of them. There was not enough messaging coordination between the outside PAC, Future Forward, and the actual campaign. One of the biggest things that this underscored was Kamala Harris and how the White House, they faulted the White House with Biden White House with how they had prepared Kamala Harris, which was to say they did not prepare her. And I'm going to read this
oh my
part
God.
of the report. The White House.
Look. Biden did fuck everything up, okay? He did. 100%. He was dead. He was a zombie, and he was trying to keep running, even though nobody wanted that, right? He did fuck everything up. You are your own person, Kamala. You are allowed to go against Biden, and in fact, you would have been way more popular if you said, no, I do not agree. If you went out there and said, I do not agree with Bidenomics. I do not agree that I understand that you people are actually feeling pain out there, right? I understand that it is tough out there, and I do not agree with Biden's assessment that everything is fine. If she went out there and said that, that would have been a great way to distance herself from Biden. And another very easy way she could have distanced herself from Biden is says, I do not agree with Biden's strategy when it comes to Israel. I do not agree that we should be tied to the hip to everything Israel is doing, and in fact, I think that we should stop sending them arms. Okay, like that's what, like, if she would have done that, that would be another great way to distance herself from Biden. But you shouldn't be, if the Biden camp is is not going to go out there and stump for you. And like, because Biden was bitter as fuck, man. He was a bitter old man who didn't want to, like, he wanted her to fail. I'm telling you, in his head, in whatever thoughts are able to still be formed in the mush that is his brain, he wanted Kamala to fail because he was bitter that she was essentially anointed to usurp him for being too fucking old. So, but that doesn't change the fact that Kamala still could have done many things to mitigate the fact that the previous president didn't want to stump for her or whatever, right? Like, I don't know, man. This is a lot of cope, I feel like.
House did not position or prepare the vice president. Had the White House explored and evaluated ways to leverage Kamala Harris earlier in the administration, perhaps it would have improved the president's standing, and it could certainly have helped prepare her to lead the ticket. So all of those.
Well, that's the vice president isn't supposed to do anything. They're supposed to fade into the background. That's like, you know, I mean, JD Vance is probably one of the most visible vice presidents that we've ever seen, or like that we've seen in a long time, I guess. But yeah, that I mean, that's typical like politicking or whatever. I don't know.
Things played into this.
Well, let me ask you, because what's also notable, Natasha, there are some critical questions it doesn't answer, some areas that it didn't look into, like, for example, how the debate over the war in the Middle East was playing out. What do you know about that, about what's missing? And
that is why this is not going to die down. This is why this is not going to be put to rest by him releasing this today. Even though people have publicly said that they were interviewed by DNC officials and the person Ken Martin put in charge of it, Paul Rivera, about Gaza, and they said that it was a material aspect to why she lost, or it contributed to it. There was zero mention of it in this report.
Yeah, there's that conflicting report, and they didn't even do the analysis. They didn't even try to fake it, man. I guarantee you this Riviera guy or whoever was in charge of it, I don't know, Ken Martin, the people, I guarantee you they were told to not like mention Israel as a negative impact on Kamala Harris's loss. Like I will 100% assure you that they were told to do that, but you still have to at least pretend like you're doing some sort of analysis, because like a lot of these things, like there's a lot of like situations where like they can get a bunch of like they can ask people a bunch of questions and then take the exact wrong conclusions from it and then present that to their donors or to their, you know, corporate overlords, and like they'll be happy with it, right? And so like, but they didn't even try when it comes to Gaza. They didn't even try to ask the questions and then manipulate the data and manipulate the narrative so that it wasn't like it wasn't the reason that she lost or whatever, which is what they do with a lot of things, like supporting Medicare for all or whatever, right? Like, or being seen as too progressive on trans issues, which is another thing that they put on in the autopsy. Like those are things like they have created they're trying to create a narrative to be like those things were the reason that she lost is because she was seen as too like radical or something. And like you could easily just make the exact opposite argument as well, though. Kamala didn't mention trans people at all during her thing. She was defined entirely by Donald Trump, like Donald Trump saying like she's for they, them, and I'm for you or whatever, right? Like she was entirely defined on that issue by Donald Trump because she didn't go out there and say anything about it. So you could just as easily say she should have been more vocal and oppositional to that framing. You could also say that, oh, maybe if she had other policy platforms or other policy positions that she was known by, that the trans stuff wouldn't have worked. If you look at how Zoran Mamdani campaigned, he did not throw trans people under the bus. He didn't talk about them that much, but when it was brought up, he would be like, yeah, I support trans people. They're New Yorkers just like everybody else. But the reason that they weren't able to like attack him or like on like that issue, like towards reactionaries or whatever is because he had other policy positions that he was known for. He was known for fast and free buses, free child health care, or free child care. I don't know, what were the other ones? I'm blanking right now, but you know what I mean. Like, he was known by like specific policies that he wanted to get across the finish line. So if people go up and start ranting about Zoran being like pro-trans or something, they look like fucking lunatics. And that's what would have happened if Kamala was identified by anything else. So like I said, there's ways to manipulate the narrative, which they always do in these types of things, in order to try to calm their donors, to not freak out too hard that the only way that the Democratic Party is going to win is to do a pivot to the left, which is the true reality. Is the only way the Democratic Party is going to win is if they do a pivot to the left, and to working class, to being a party of the working class. But they can't say that to their donors, so they will always try to massage the narrative like that.
No mention at all. And so that a lot of people are already, up in arms about that. Where is it? Why wasn't it mentioned? So that question is going to continue to dog them as this moves forward.
I think you're absolutely right. Natasha Korecki, thanks for bringing us your exclusive reporting. We really appreciate it. Joining me now is our panel, Dan Merica, co-author of the early brief for the Washington Post. Ashley Etienne, former communications director for Vice President Harris and a Meet the Press contributor, and Sarah Chamberlain, president and CEO of the Republican Main Street Partnership. Boy, is there a lot to
Man, you got the true ideological diversity of NBC. You got centrist, and centrist. These people, man, I swear they never have any actual ideological diversity. The ideological diversity is how conservative of a liberal are you?
Hack today, Dan. We have to start with this DNC report. Ken Martin releasing it under an immense amount of pressure. Talk about the politics of this moment for Democrats and for the DNC.
I mean, there's clearly an incredible amount of pressure on Ken Martin to get this thing out, much of his own making. I mean, he kind of put himself in this position by saying that they were going to release it, calling for a report to be made, backtracking from that. And you saw that in his statement. Rare that you see a political figure say, I'm sorry, and apologize the way he did for making this kind of snafu and really dragging the DNC through the mud through this process. I mean, I think there are a lot of Democrats, especially here in Washington, who were eager to see this report and are let down by what is and what is not in the report. It is certainly not a complete product. I'm shocked by the annotations that the DNC has put in the report that they were supposed to produce. I will note that there are not many operatives out in the country running campaigns right now who were waiting on out what the DNC thinks they should do in 2020.
That's kind of true. When it comes to the Bernie-crats, right? The Bernie-crats do not care, right? Like the Graham Plattners, the Chris Rabb, that guy who just got elected or whatever, Cory Bush, they're just going to run their campaigns the way they know how to run campaigns to win. By not listening, if you want to lose your campaign, you listen to the DNC machinery, and you listen to the donor, the whatever they're called, the the people the advisors, those people, if you want to lose your campaign, that you will listen to them. However, there are still a shit ton of Democrats out there who are trying to align with the centrist wing of the party or whatever. There's Spanberger. I don't know. There have been elections where these centrist types are being elected, and I'm sure that they and all of their advisors or their campaigns would love to have some sort of corporate donor approved list of things that they should change to, throw more trans people under the bus or whatever. Have the data to be able to abandon any sort of left wing populism or whatever that may have been on the fringes of their campaign. So I somewhat agree, but I think that it's kind of like 50-50.
26, and that's mostly because they're running campaigns and they're not looking towards the DNC necessarily. I talked to an operative who's working on a few races who said, great, we're running our own race, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're so deeply immersed already in their own races. This is not a game changer for them. But Ashley, you've been one of the voices calling for this report to be released. So your reaction to it being released today, and for you, what are the biggest takeaways?
Well, for me, my first reaction is this is a complete and total failure on the part of Ken Martin. He had a choice. Ken Martin chose to release what I've been told is a draft document with critiques to a draft document. And part of the issue there is he released it to protect his own hide. You know, that's the part I find most insulting. He could have released a forward-looking document that really dug into the biggest, the three-alarm fire, as I called it, that the Democratic Party is facing. It's facing a failing infrastructure, an identity crisis, and bleeding support among its base vote voters. He could have put some recommendations forward. Rather, what he did was he put out a document to throw...
Addressing the real problems, though, that's not his job. That's not his job. His job is not to... his job isn't to go and find the real problems that people want the Democratic Party to address, because those what the people want the Democratic Party to be is not a surprise or anything. Everybody knows it. They want them to center working class politics. They want people who are going to go out there and advocate for changes that are going to materially improve their lives. It's really not that complicated. This is how democracy works. I as a voter go ask, what are you going to do for me? And you say, I'm going to do A, B, and C for you. And then I'm like, I like A, B, and C. I'm going to vote for you. This is like the basics of democracy. And so his job is not to just do that. His job is to find margins, finds things around the edges that he can manipulate into sounding okay to his donors that they could make changes on that won't fundamentally change the fact that the Democratic Party is 100% on the side of like the same side as the Republican Party, like the capital owning class. So I don't know, that it wasn't his job. That wasn't his job.
The writers of the report under the bus. He made this about himself when democracy is under attack right now. And so if you ask me, he owes people like me an explanation. The people like me who've been the backbone of this political party for generations now. 600,000 black women are out of a job. We're at 8.5% unemployment. 400 years of black political progress has been undermined in the past 2 weeks with the gutting of the VRA. Ken Martin owes black people an
400. I'd say like 100. We're not there yet. We're not back to like having slaves again yet. Like, I mean, it'll happen eventually, but if we don't stop it. But yeah, we're not there yet.
Explanation as to why he's been sitting on this document and what happened to all the money. That is the biggest takeaway. There is no unpacking of how the money was spent, how it was strategically spent, whether it was spent to.
Oh yeah. By the way, it was the most money ever spent. It was raised over $1.2 billion in contributions. $1.2 billion. And where did it all go? Which consultants? That's the word I was looking for. Which consultant firms did it go who all firmly lost, like who all their ideas, their strategies all completely failed? I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen a campaign run as poorly as the Kamala campaign. I know it was short. I know it was a short like window, but the consultants who did that, who like advised her, they need to be fucking like tarred and feathered. They need to be like embarrassed, like kicked out of any sort of world of politics. The companies that were there need to go bankrupt. Like there does need to be like a real reckoning with those people, but there's not gonna be, because like I said, their job isn't to win. Their job is to try to make their donors feel good about the party. So
advance innovation, innovative strategies to win black voters and brown voters. I mean, it's really, again, a failure of leadership on the part of Ken Martin.
Let me follow up with you quickly, because Dan Pfeiffer, former Obama advisor, also outraged by Ken Martin, posting on social media, it's hard to imagine anyone handling anything worse than Ken Martin handled the DNC autopsy. It was a
I think I'm probably just going to move on. I think I've covered it enough. I've talked about my thoughts on it. It's just not an autopsy. That's my end understanding, is that it is just not an autopsy. And I've told you about my thoughts on like why these incompetent fools rise up so high into the ranks of the DNC, and the mechanisms and machinery inside of there, why they're all specifically designed to like lose, like for the Democratic Party to lose. And they are controlled opposition. If you do not understand this at this point, that the Democratic Party is controlled opposition to the Republicans, where they are both working in tandem to move the country further to the right and move more wealth from your pocket up towards a fewer amount of people at the top, then I don't know what to tell you. That is their role. That doesn't mean that we can't change them. I'm not saying like, I'm not a doomer like, oh, we have to go third party or anything. We can invade like the Democratic Party. We can take it over from the inside, take all of those mechanisms that they have, and then use them for good. Like all of the money, all the donor funds, like all of the just the like establishment operations, like all the funding arms, how they get money from place to place. Like we can take over the Democratic Party and like do a lot of good from within there. So I'm ambivalent when it comes to like third party versus reforming the Democratic Party. I don't really care one way or the other, as long as we get more people who are pro working class in power. I don't really care what method it goes to. And then eventually, once we have enough people in power, then we can hopefully, fundamentally alter our system of government to be more equitable towards the working class. That's my goal as a DSA member, is like one day, hopefully we're doing it through the Democratic Party right now to try to, take power inside of that party. But whether we have to do it in there or outside of there is, we're just following whatever makes the most sense at the time. And the end result is, yes, to dismantle the inequities of capitalism. It may, I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime. I would love to see a socialist America, but we're just doing our part to try to get there. So, okay, well, there you go. Hopefully a nice little somewhat hopeful note at the end there. Let's go ahead and move on. We're now going to talk about Iran. We're going back to Iran. So we're going to start with this video. Sources, the Chiron says, sources, Iran's military reconstituting faster than expected. I wonder who their sources are, because maybe it's me, because I've been saying this the whole fucking time. I get so like, I guess maybe I do like doing the I told you so, I told you so racket. I mean, I don't really care that much, because I know these people have their job is not to like truly understand what is happening. But I've been saying from the beginning, Iran is not just like, does not only just continue to have all of their missiles and all of their drones that they had at the beginning of the war. They are actively, like I said from the beginning, they are currently, I guarantee you, actively manufacturing them as well. Hegseth came out and said, nope, we destroyed all of their manufacturing capability. They are no longer able to make any more drones. They are no longer able to make any more missiles. And I said, that's bullshit. They have factories that are literally under mountains. Like, you could nuke it 5 times. You could nuke the mountain 5 times and you would not get to these factories. Like they are still producing as we speak. And so that was what I had been saying the entire time. And now look at that. I am proven correct yet again. So let's go ahead and watch this video, and we'll analyze if these people, I'm sure they're going to be pretty butthurt about this, this obvious information that anybody who has half a brain could have foretold that this was going to be the case. But let's go ahead and watch it.
U.S.
have
intel
some fun.
assessments actually assess that Iran is rebuilding its military industrial capacity at a much faster rate than previously anticipated. One U.S. official actually told us that, quote, the Iranians have exceeded all timelines.
Look. Missile cities, man, under mountains. This is under a mountain. 5 nukes would not make it to this. Okay. So what the fuck are our airdrops going to like, or our, our standard missiles going to do? It's ridiculous that anybody thought that this stuff was ever going to get, wiped out or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous.
The intel community had for reconstitution of their military capabilities. And one big example of that is how fast they have been able to rebuild their drone program. They have restarted that program. We're told they have already been able to produce a lot of new drones, and their drone program could actually be fully reconstituted, we are told, within 6 months. And that's worth noting as well, because, of course, those drones pose.
Guess what? I wouldn't be surprised if they have more drones now than they started the war with. I wouldn't be that surprised, to be honest. They've had a few weeks now of not even using any of them. And they were using very few near the end because they were getting such successful hit rates. I wouldn't be surprised if they have more drones now than they started the war. I'm just saying.
Pose a huge threat to Iran's regional adversaries, many of which are U.S. allies. They have proven to be extremely lethal, these drones. One of these drone attacks actually hit a U.S. military facility early in the conflict and killed U.S. service members. So the drones do pose a huge threat. And even prior to them reconstituting their drone program, they still had thousands of one-way attack drones still in their inventory. So this is just adding to that. In addition to this, they are also able to.
She said thousands. What the fuck is she talking about? I mean, if you go by like the NatSec establishment's numbers, it's like 60 or 70,000 or something. The real number, though, I guarantee you, is over 100,000, like hundreds of thousands of drones that they have. And even now, like I said, I bet it's still over 100,000 drones that they have.
We are told rebuild, and they have been reconstituting their bombed out missile sites that the U.S. did attack, of course, throughout the course of the war, as well as with their missile launchers, many of which were buried underground, that they have now been able to dig out and produce more of. And the reason for this is multifaceted. Part of it is that Russia and China were told.
And just so that I'm not making this shit up, okay? I mean, this is total stockpile estimates pre-war, 80,000 is what they said. I guarantee you it's above that. Those numbers are always a low ball. It is over 100,000 for sure. And now it's probably just as high. Like, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm really doing I'm trying to just make people understand this is. You need to not take a lot of the things that our government says seriously when it comes to like their bluster about this. You also need to not take any media that takes what our government says seriously. You need to, like, if CNN was out there reporting about how, oh yeah, they're we've definitely or I don't know. I feel like I read some articles and stuff, or from New York Times or whatever, where they're like, oh yeah, we have decimated 50% of their missile stockpiles or something or whatever, right? And you can never take that shit seriously. You need to think critically. You need to think about the actual real material conditions of Iran and how they have constituted their military, how they just how they have chosen to operate in order to prepare for this moment for 30 years. You need to really analyze the material on the ground of how they operate, and you will come out on top in terms of knowing what's actually going on 10 times better than just the average CNN viewer or New York Times reader or whatever, right?
Have continued to provide assistance to the Iranians. The Chinese have continued, for example, to provide missile components to the Iranians throughout the course of the war, something that Beijing denies, but that U.S. intelligence has seen very clearly. And the Russians, of course, have continued to provide dual-use technology, drone tactic advice as well to the Iranians that has allowed them to continue to produce and manufacture a lot of this equipment. So bottom line here is that while U.S. Central Command Chief Brad Cooper testified to lawmakers earlier this week that Iran's military-industrial capacity will take them years to rebuild, in fact, it's only been set back by a matter of months, according to U.S. intel assessments.
I'm telling you, that's still an overestimate. They're probably just as strong as they were when we started, man. Or like they are probably all like I'm sure that they are, digging out a lot of facilities, a lot of the openings where they, like to the underground where they store all of this stuff. Like, I'm sure to some extent they were degraded temporarily by some of our strikes. But like it's going to be less than that for them to be like fully at capacity again. They just have to dig them out again. And like I said, they've been producing the entire time throughout wartime. And so they probably have just as much as they started with.
The reason Netanyahu is furious is because he knows Trump is going to walk away and Israel will be in more danger. That's the end of the Abraham Accords. And Israel is going to be in more danger than ever before because Trump doesn't have the stomach for it. It was a blunder to begin with. And it's the only choice is go in there. They aren't going to get the HEU.
Dude, this dude, he's like, we must sacrifice all of our 18 to 25-year-old men for the great nation state of Israel. We must throw them all into the meat grinder. We must do it. It is unpatriotic, or like it is anti-Semitic to not kill as many of our corn-fed white boys in the Midwest, like throwing them all, like shooting them all overseas to Iran to go die in the meat grinder. It's anti-Semitic if you think differently.
How can you say that Israel is fearing?
Oh, in there, they aren't going to get the HEU.
Though? How can you say that Israel is fearing of a basically rebounding Iran when it's a shell?
Because they're watching it happen right now.
It's a shell of its former self.
It's not.
Cope. This lady is Cope Maxine, dude. Iran is, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Iran is officially the regional power. They are. They have proven it already. They are the regional power. Israel cannot defeat Iran. No way, no how. Iran has like completely symmetric, like not asymmetric, completely symmetric capabilities when it comes to fighting back against Israel. Iran has more, like something better than a nuke, the Strait of Hormuz. Like they have 20% of the world's oil at a choke point. Iran is essentially the regional hegemon at this point, and Israel can't do fucking anything about it. So I'm just saying, like, this is like a bunch of cope from this lady. If she thinks that Iran is like in any way in a weakened position at this point, that is ridiculous.
Don't take it from Trump. Don't take it from Trump. Take it from the commander of CENTCOM, Admiral Cooper, who testified to doubt the report that we're talking about right now because it's provided by one of these sources.
Stuff that got blown up.
Facts on the ground show that Trump is
Cope harder, bitch. We'll see what happens at the end of this war, man. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right. Iran will be the regional hegemon. Iran will have the Strait of Hormuz tolled, and will be making lots of money off of it. A bunch of America's military bases are probably going to sit empty for a while, if not indefinitely, as America is hesitant to, or like as these Gulf states are hesitant to allow them back onto their soil. I think that Iran will stick also to the claim, or like the necessity for Israel to pull out of Lebanon. Like, I think that will also have to happen. And Iran will just, like I said, de facto be the regional hegemon. That you can come back and tell me I'm stupid later if I'm wrong. But the only thing that Iran might do is they might concede on some of the nuclear stuff, potentially, maybe, if they honestly, if they feel like it at this point.
Okay, hang on.
The Navy was 50 years old and
I want to play a clip.
Caroline mentioned Brad Cooper. This is what he said on Tuesday.
Oh, There it is.
Operation Epic Fury significantly degraded Iran's ballistic missiles and drones while destroying 90% of their defense industrial base, ensuring that Iran cannot reconstitute for years.
Nope.
Okay, so that is what you're referring to.
Oh my
and that's
God.
what we're hearing from Admiral Brad Cooper.
Anyone who buys any of that shit, man, like if you're taking any information from the military, from Hegseth, from Trump, like any of the people who are literally going out there to spew propaganda, like that is their role, is to go out there and spew propaganda, and you take it at face value, I'm sorry to tell you, but you might be an idiot. I'm sorry.
Who is the commander of U.S. Central Command. But this reporting that CNN has from intelligence officials and U.S. officials saying that the Iranians have exceeded all timelines and are, in fact, rebuilding.
Well, of course they're going to rebuild. That's what, I mean, why would they not try? But I do think it's interesting you act like this is a massive failure blunder, because you said they're in control. The top level guys are all dead, they're not in control.
I'm talking about the regime.
Hold on.
Ask
The
the Iranians
second
if they've
level,
had
hold on,
regime
hold on.
change.
The
They haven't.
second level, they're all dead, so they're not in charge of anything.
so
Wow.
Has been
You did it. You did it. Regime change. You did two regime changes in like in a week. Oh my God. Wow. We're all so impressed. We are all so impressed. Congratulations. You killed people and you got more hardliners in charge. We are incredibly impressed. Regime change, or like decapitation strikes, they have always worked, right? There've never once been a situation where they haven't worked. Am I right? Right, people?
been killed.
Yeah,
So
that's a
they're-
line.
No, it's not. It's
With
reality.
all of those,
So now we're at the
gone.
fourth and the fifth level, and now
we're
you're
still
saying
losing.
this has been a disaster.
Who
It's
controls
not a
the Strait of
disaster.
Hormuz?
Again, I
Who
think the
control-
U.S.
ask
is
the South
clearly
Koreans.
letting this.
Ask the Japanese.
So you think that Iran is in charge of everything over there, and we're somehow
Who's
losers
doing
because you don't like
deals
Donald
with
Trump?
Tehran? Who's doing
Are they
deals?
doing deals? Are they having conversations? There's a big difference.
They're desperate because they cut off their oil
the
for
part that
months.
makes me laugh about there's so much oil over there right now that is held back. They're desperate to sell in that part of the world because of what's happening in the Strait, number one. So they're not in control, because they were. That would be
Oh my God.
That would be
Dude, these people, they cope too hard. I can't take it, man. I can't take it. I think I'm gonna have to. I'll finish this, like this guy just inhaling cope like Bane's like mask on his face right now, man. I'll let this one finish off for a little bit, but I'm gonna have to move on. These people, I can't take the amount of cope they're doing.
Because they're desperate to get rid of capacity. They're trying to do anything to get some cash coming in. And if everything is in control the way you are, you don't have to do side deals. You would just have it open and flow like it was before the war.
It's like a toll
but that's
road.
the point about the president. The president made it clear. Iran is not going to get a nuclear weapon. That's number one.
How is he going to ensure that?
Number two.
How is he going to ensure that?
Said he's made
Inspections?
As long as he's president of the United States of America, I have no doubt if
Where's
he needs
the
to bomb them
HEU?
again,
Where's
he's
the highly
going to
enriched
bomb
uranium
them
right
again.
now?
What's that gonna do though, man? It didn't do shit last time. He bombed them last time. It didn't do shit. What's going to change this time? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, man. These people are brain dead. They're so stupid.
That's just the raw
Bird brain.
materials, but the capacity has been decimated, and that takes a long time to rebuild.
If you really believe that Iran is sitting back right now, 5 levels deep of dead guys, and going, man, we're really in charge right now. Like, we're kicking America.
I think that they are.
100%.
They're doing all the right.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Iran is more confident now than they have ever been, because America has failed so spectacularly. Like, nobody, not even me, a crazy, unpatriotic leftist or whatever who hates America, as they would portray me as, like, not even I thought that America would fail this hard. I thought that America still had some like actual motion when it came to their capabilities in terms of like bombing and like airstrikes and like I don't know. I guess maybe I underestimated how resilient Iran would be, but like at this point I am just like amazed. I am amazed at how I thought America would be able to like protect its Gulf allies and stuff too, like to some extent. They weren't even able to protect Israel, man. Like it is insane how terrible America did in this war. These people just look like lunatics at this point. This guy right here, the way he talks about this shit, he just sounds like a fucking like hysterical like zealot, like a religious zealot who just like if he doesn't properly express his his love and adoration for the Trump regime, like he's going to be smited down or something. Like it is, these people are hysterical. I'm going to listen to this girl's response. She seems like one of the only people. I guess this guy is also maybe I don't know, on the liberal side or something. I don't know. But I'm going to try and listen to her response, and then I'm going to move on.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Because every bit of capability or intel that we've had has proven itself to be faulty. And that's either because there is a miscommunication or somebody's straight line. At the end of the day, we're spending $1 billion plus a day at a war that we are losing.
Where faulty, everything's been faulty. Give me an example of that.
We said they knocked out their missile capacity. They have 70% still.
They said that they had totally annihilated it. That came from the president of the United States. He went on a PR tour telling us he annihilated something he absolutely did not.
You think
they
that
didn't
Iran
wake up one morning and all of a sudden rebuild their entire nuclear capacity.
You believe that Iran right now is exactly as powerful as they were?
I never said that.
No, I think that they're more powerful now. That's what I'm saying. I think they are more powerful now than when we started. Yes. Okay. I'm done. I can't take it. I can't take it. These people, they are freaks. They are losers. I can't take it. They are going. We'll see who's right. I'm confident that I'm going to be proven right in the end, man. We'll see. We'll see. Give it time, buddy. I'll let you know. I'll go give you my I told you so's at the end, just like I did today. But okay, let's do one more thing. This is a shorter video when it comes to Iran. This is from Bloomberg podcast. I almost never watch Bloomberg, but this is Iran looks at setting up permanent Hormuz toll system. My understanding is that they're going forward with this right now. I think Iran is talking with Oman to like coordinate some sort of like maybe like mutual tolling. I think they might be doing something like that in order to like maybe like ease it a little bit in the eyes of the international world, because like the West is so primed against Iran, and Oman or like the Gulf states are generally seen as aligned with the West or whatever. So I think that like Iran might be doing a little bit of strategic, like strategic, like sort of like, oh, we might we'll both Oman and us will both, take part in this tolling system. And that way it might ease the like soothe the Westerners a little bit. But so let's go ahead and watch this video. We got Tyler Kendall here talking about the permanent Hormuz toll system, and we'll see what's going on with it.
Earlier today, Iran's ambassador to France told Bloomberg News that the country is working on a formalized system with Oman to charge tolls through the Strait of Hormuz as Iran continues to grip on to its control when it comes to the waterway. President Trump moments ago in the Oval Office told reporters that he doesn't like that idea.
We want it open. We want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging tolls.
Again, what are you going to do about it? We live in a might makes right world now, baby. That's what you created, Donald Trump. Well, not you. Biden also played his part. But like, we live in a might makes right world at this point. So Iran has the might. Iran has the right. Nothing you can do about it. I'm serious. There's nothing you can do about it. You already tried to open it up. You failed. You're going to have to go home eventually, and Iran will de facto control the strait. So
right now they are losing $500 million a day is what it's projected. I don't know. It sounds like a lot of money, but whether
probably
it's
bullshit too,
500 or 200 or 300, they're losing a lot of money. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without our approval.
That was President Trump's response to a question asked by Bloomberg's very own Jeff Mason, who was in the Oval with the president and is now on the North Lawn of the White House, joining us here on Bloomberg TV and radio. So, Jeff, it seems that Iran is clearly on a different page than President Trump when it comes to this issue, but the president still maintains that this conflict is going to end soon. How is that going to happen if these two sides are still this far apart?
Well, that's a great question. He did say that he thinks it's going to end soon, but he obviously does not see the Strait of Hormuz in the same way that Iran sees it. And the big question will be whether or not that's a big enough sticking point to prevent them from receiving or getting to a peace deal, or whether that's something that the president is willing to table. And we don't know the answer to that. What we do know is Iran is using this.
Dude, this is the most triumphant music I've ever heard for the most boring ass analysis.
Strait of Hormuz as a cudgel, and has learned over the last several weeks of this war that it has the upper hand with regard to the Strait of Hormuz. And so the question is, does the rest of the world accept that, and in particular, does President Trump accept that, or does it derail a peace deal that they're currently working on putting together?
If you're joining us on Bloomberg Television, you can see the honor guard behind Jeff Mason on the White House North Lawn as President Trump gets ready to participate in an ambassador credentialing ceremony. That's also why you're hearing those horns blare there. It's a very busy day at the White House, Jeff. I also want to ask you about another sticking point that we know has come up in the negotiations, including the stockpile of already highly enriched uranium. I know that you brought this up in the Oval Office. Where does President Trump stand on how critical that is for a deal? And what do we know about how the U.S. is eyeing either retrieving or retracting that enriched material?
Yeah, Tyler, it certainly is another one of those sticking points. And I did ask the president about that, whether or not Iran can hold on to that stockpile. And he said no, that they would, that would have to be taken out of the country. But he did not give details as to how that would be done.
Yeah, how?
And
how?
Iran,
That's the most important part, is how. What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? Let's read some comments real quick. You might say it's like they are charging a tariff to use the strait. Okay. Good old tariff jab. Cracks me up that a lot of MAGA posters gripe about Iran closing the strait, but believe Trump and Hegseth claims they control the strait. Yeah, that is pretty funny. So Iran wants to charge those who commercially use the Strait of Hormuz. To me, that sounds a lot like a tariff. And according to the president of the United States, tariffs are good. These people are tariff posting a lot. Iran flipped the nuclear conversation to strictly the Strait of Hormuz. Talk about masters of the art of the deal. Man, this is called the art of the deal. People are just roasting Trump, I guess. I was curious if people... if there would be people who were like upset about this or something, but it sounds like nobody gives a shit, dude, which is crazy, man. This war is so unpopular already that like Americans are just like, yeah, the great nation state of Iran, please let the international Islamic Caliphate rise up and protect the great nation state of Iran from our pedo billionaires. It's crazy. I love it, man. People are, I don't know. I think to some extent, most Americans are just like selfish and only, you know, they don't like what their own personal material impact by this war is. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are just ideologically committed to like stopping our pedo billionaires from marauding from country to country and killing as many school children as they possibly can. I honestly don't think there's that many people who are like, who really are ideologically committed to that. I wish there were more. But yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Sounds like there's going to be a tolling system. It sounds like they're formalizing it even during wartime right now. And like I said before, nothing America can do about it. We already tried and we failed. Let's go ahead and move on to a short video. We're going to discuss Taiwan just a little bit more here. More fallout, I think, from Trump's Beijing summit. I don't know if this is new information or not, but this is a huge deal, I think, if the title is if it's what I think it is. The title is U.S. Navy Official Says Taiwan Arms Sales Are on Pause Over Iran War. This is huge. Now, there's two things that could be happening here. It is either going to be that Trump and Xi made a side deal, like on the side that said, hey, stop for now, stop sending, you're in a bad position, right? Trump is in a bad position. For now, stop sending arms to Taiwan. And then maybe we'll consider bailing you out of this Iran situation. There's that as a possibility. The other possibility, which is just as likely in my opinion, is that we are so low on our arms after after sending like everything we possibly had to the Middle East to try to protect the one true ally, Israel. I think it's like one of those two things. But let's go ahead and watch this video. We'll see if we can maybe make a decision on that, on which one we think it is.
A diplomatic panic launched with just a few words.
I'll speak to him. I speak to everybody.
U.S. President Donald Trump told journalists he would speak with the president of Taiwan, a territory Beijing wants to bring back under its control. China has made clear that Taiwan remains a top priority.
China's opposition to any official exchanges between the U.S. and China's Taiwan region and the U.S.'s arms sales to Taiwan is consistent, clear, and rock firm. China urges the U.S. to exercise extra caution in handling the Taiwan question.
President Xi Jinping reportedly issued a similar warning last week during Trump's high-profile visit to Beijing. According to Chinese state media, Xi said that Beijing could come into conflict with Washington if it mishandles the Taiwan question. After the trip, Trump suggested he could use a $14 billion arms sale as a negotiating chip with China. This would go against decades of policy preventing Washington from consulting Beijing on weapons deals with Taiwan, a top buyer of U.S. military equipment for decades.
I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to re-listen to that part.
A $14 billion arms sale as a negotiating chip with China. This would go against decades of...
So using a $14 billion arms sale as a negotiating chip with China. I interpret that as meaning he was hoping that, like, I don't think it was initiated by him, though. I think it was initiated by Xi to as a negotiating chip, like, don't send those arms to Taiwan. If I had to guess, but I don't know what he got out of that. If this was like a negotiation tactic or like a negotiation, what did he get out of that? There were no real concessions as far as I saw from this summit. The only thing that I could think of is like backdoor, deals and stuff that maybe like potentially with like being like, okay, we will try our best to help get Iran to the negotiating table or something along those lines, maybe.
Policy preventing Washington from consulting Beijing on weapons deals with Taiwan, a top buyer of U.S. military equipment for decades. The U.S. Navy said Thursday the sale is now on pause to ensure the U.S. has sufficient munitions for Iran operations. Taiwan President Lai Ching.
Wait, sorry. They said, I think, the reason.
For decades. The U.S. Navy said Thursday the sale is now on pause to ensure the U.S. has sufficient munitions for Iran operations.
There it is. Okay, so that's the official reason. It could be both. Like I never trust these things inherently that they're like telling the truth about why. But I that was also like one of my main, one of the main reasons that I could think of. And it does make sense. We only care about Israel as an ally. Like they are the one true ally. Taiwan doesn't have like, there's not like TaiPac or something, right? Like they don't have like a huge influence. I mean, I'm sure that there is a Taiwanese, PAC, like a political action committee, but it doesn't have the same like institutional power in America. And like, there isn't like an ideological commitment to this by like religious fanatics and Christian like Christian Zionists or whatever. Like there isn't the same thing for Taiwan. Also, there's just our nation was founded on the genocide of an indigenous people, right? And in the same way, Israel's nation is founded on the genocide of an indigenous people. So like I think there's also just general ideological commitment within just the DNA of our country to that. We have never like adequately rectified those wrongs, both materially and like spiritually in our country. And so like I think a huge segment of our population, even like liberals as well, like liberals and conservatives, have a alignment with that cause that is kind of like baked into, I don't want to say it's like in like, it's baked into the fabric of our institutions, and then we learn it as we grow up, and it takes a lot of unlearning to get to realize how wrong that is or whatever. So like I think all of these things are the reason like we don't have the same like ties to Taiwan, and also maybe America is kind of giving up to some extent on Taiwan. Like America will probably, does want to destabilize China as much as possible. So they do want to probably send as many missiles as they can or munitions as they can over there. But I think we've completely given up on this idea that we can fight in two theaters at once or anything. And And so if Iran keeps going on for a long time, which I kind of expect it to, then a lot of this, Taiwan is going to have to take a backseat. So I don't know. I think that I probably trust them like 70-30. That's like the main reason. I would say that it could also be a combination, though. There could have been negotiations with Xi as well.
Taiwan President Lai Ching-te said he would be happy to talk with the U.S. leader, while affirming his administration does not want to change the status quo.
He's a status quoer.
Taiwan is keenly aware of the increasingly severe threat from China, which is why we are increasing our defense budget. The enhancement of our capabilities and military procurement from the U.S. are vital for safeguarding Taiwan's security.
There has been nearly no direct communication.
Dude, that's so backwards. That's so backwards. The more weapons you get, the less secure you're going to be. The more American weapons, American support you get as a proxy for America, the less secure you get, because the more China sees, the more necessary China feels it is to bring you over by force. Like if you don't do that, if like I keep saying, I think that China would be relatively okay with Taiwan being completely independent if it wasn't like constantly being used as a proxy by the United States in order to try to destabilize China. Like, I don't really think they would care that much if they wanted independence in that particular circumstance. If they were truly like not aligned with the United States as being a proxy state to destabilize China. But so the more the more weapons they accept, and the more they accept their role as a pawn in the games of American empire, the less secure they get, in my personal opinion. I would say they're more secure if they would get rid of all of this American military assets that they have on their soil, personally.
Between leaders of the U.S. and Taiwan since 1979, when Washington switched diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing. This isn't the first time Trump broke with precedented U.S. policy on Taiwan. During his first term, Trump raised alarm when he spoke on the phone with Taiwan's then president, Tsai Ing-wen.
Okay, well, there you go. I think that, I don't know. I've talked about Taiwan a lot the last recent days. It's just because of the Beijing summit, and there's been some fallout from it. But I think that's a pretty big deal, though, not sending arms sales to Taiwan, especially if it was based because of something behind the scenes in those negotiations with Xi. The timing is curious, right? Isn't it, like, am I wrong? The timing is curious. It comes right after that summit that Trump decides that, we're going to put these sales to Taiwan on pause because we need them in the Middle East. Now, I do think that they do need them in the Middle East, so don't get me wrong. We went through like 60% or like 50% of our missiles in the first 6 weeks of war. So like I guarantee you they do actually need them in the Middle East, but that could also just be an excuse. So I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 actually, I think, after, talking through it with you guys. So we'll maybe see more info in the future. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this video that just started autoplaying. I don't really know exactly what this is going to be, but the great re-emigration out of Israel back to Germany, I guess, is apparently happening. Germany said, we do not want any of the Jews here. Get all of these Jews, get them the fuck out of Germany. That's what they said back after World War II. And the Jews said, okay, fine, we'll go to Palestine. And then they, set up their little colony out there, displaced all like 700,000 Palestinians, and then continuously expanded their borders every year going forward, constantly trying to push more Palestinians out of Israel. And then and now I guess we're kind of doing the opposite. Now we're doing the opposite. All of the I have to assume that this is going to be about all of the liberal higher educated like types of Israeli Jews are now apparently fleeing Israel because it's constantly being, it's constantly in a state of war and is probably going to be in a perpetual state of war indefinitely going forward. So I guess a bunch of them are now leaving Israel and going back to Germany, which is a great irony. But anyway, let's watch this video. I don't know what the scope of this is. I don't know if it's a lot. I take a lot of, I do understand it is important that like to know if there's a net inflow or outflow from Israel, because that determines, how much territory they would be able to expand and occupy to, because they are a small country with not that many people and not that big of an army, and their army is not that capable. So so all of these factors, like you need a large group of people to, if you want to continue expanding further and further, enable just to maintain that apartheid structure. And so if there is net inflow or outflow, that's good information to have. So I'm hoping we'll get a little bit of information about that here too.
Wir stehen hier am Oliverplatz. In der Zeit der Nazis war Versammlungen gegen Juden. Und heute sind wir hier zusammengekommen, zu sagen, Am Israel.
Dude. Oof. They're saying Am Israel high on oh god, dude. This irony, man. This is like Greek tragedy level of irony, man. They like, I mean, I don't know. It seems like they're talking about the great nation state of Israel, so it sounds like they still are Zionists, and just like the great Greek tragedy of these people like becoming Nazis themselves is man, it is just wild. And now they're going back to Germany to, I guess, espouse the great, the great ideology of the modern day Nazis, aka Israelis.
Yehuda Teichdauer is originally from New York. He's led Berlin's Shabbat community for more than 20 years. His mission, to revive Jewish life in Germany. Like him, Jews from all over the world are choosing to settle here permanently, even applying for German citizenship.
So why is the question? Why are they choosing Germany, right? So if these Israelis are, it sounds, at least the people in this group that they're talking to all seem to be like Zionists, like aligned with the ideology of Zionism. And Germany does tend to be the most like pro-Zionist like European country. Obviously, I mean, it's pretty obvious to see where it comes from. It's from the guilt of the Holocaust being warped and turned into a redemption, there's an idea of redemption in German society of like, we can redeem ourselves by helping Israel colonize and like kill as many brown people over there as we possibly can, right? Like, so I mean, they don't say it that way, but that is what they're doing. And so there's this very inside of Germany, there's this very, very like weird fascination, like weird like they have lots of special rules for Israelis and for Jews and stuff. They have lots of like particular laws that are like protect separate from just like normal like hate crime laws or whatever. Like they have extra like Jews are essentially treated as like a special type of citizen inside of Germany compared to like just normal people basically, or like other people. And I guess people who have lived in Israel, where they have that exact same dynamic, where Israelis, like Jews, are considered a special class of person compared to the hordes of brown Muslims that live inside of their borders. That's how they see them, right? They probably feel, I think, particularly at home in Germany, and so that's probably why they choose Germany, if I had to guess.
Like Rabbi Gewirtz, his grandparents were originally from Germany, Holocaust survivors.
Being able to speak the language, to have a German passport,
And to continue living here as a Jew, for me, that's a win. It's even something I'm proud of.
People see that the community is growing in Germany, and despite the challenges and problems, there are also many positive aspects. That's one of the reasons why they see a future in this country.
This return to Germany is made easier by a law dating from 1949. Descendants of victims of Nazism can obtain German citizenship without giving up their original passport.
See, that's one of those special laws that I just told you about that only apply to like Jewish people. By the way, this creates a really weird dynamic in Germany. I've heard of people who are like they like fetishize Jews. Like some people like fetishize Jews inside of German society, where they're like they'll watch like specific types of like porn and shit like that have to do with like Jewish people. Like there's this weird fetishization, I think, of Jewish people inside of Germany, based on all of these. Like, I mean, it's based on there's lots of stuff. I don't want to go into like all of it. Like I don't want to psychoanalyze the entire psyche of the German people or whatever, but it does all stem back, I think, from the Holocaust guilt, and then all of the institutional power that like, or the institutional actions that were done in order to facilitate the creation of Israel, and like funding and arming and like all that sort of stuff as well.
Arrived in Berlin in 2020. He obtained dual nationality 2 years ago. Today, he helps other descendants of German Jewish families to do the same. But for his clients, the process often begins with a very pragmatic calculation.
They want it in an uncertain world, they want flexibility, they want options, they want to move, extra citizenship. It seems like a promise. And yeah, the fact that people are asking for German citizenship, I believe, has to do with the fact that people has trust in Germany.
Ellie works closely with a lawyer specializing in immigration law.
It's because, I told you, it's because Jewish people get special treatment in Germany. And as people who, if they have lived in Israel, they are used to getting special treatment. And so they want to go somewhere where they get special treatment again. I'm just telling you, that is the reason that they are picking it. And they believe that they can, like, you know, they believe that if they are Zionists, at least, that they can, you know, espouse Zionism and be protected by the government for trying to, you know, prop up the nation state or the Nazi state of Israel. Like that is why they do it.
In her office, asylum applications from Jewish foreigners have multiplied, especially since October the 7th, 2023.
October 7th triggered another significant increase in applications, but other factors are also at play. Brexit, for example.
By the way, I did look it up. I'm just going to read the AI overview. Israel experiencing a negative net migration balance with significantly more people leaving the country than immigrating. In recent years, a surge in immigration driven by war and political instability has resulted in a net population loss of roughly 20,000 to 37,000 individuals annually from migration. The more people leave the nation state of Israel, the less possible it is for them to do their expanding over like larger and larger territories, and eventually they won't even be able to support their current expansions. They will either have to retreat from them or face total collapse. So there's that. One sec, I'll let this play.
For British citizens. And for the United States, we've already received sporadic requests from clients who say the situation with Trump seems too uncertain. And precisely because of the experience of our ancestors, it's good to have a sort of second option.
After October the 7th, anti-Semitic acts jumped by more than 80% in 1 year. A rise attributable to the far right and tensions born of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Marina Chernivsky witnesses the rise of anti-Jewish hatred in the country on a daily basis. She heads the first hotline specializing in violence and discrimination against Jews in Germany.
The Hebrew language, for example,
has become a marker of political identity. It's perfectly natural for people to speak their mother language in the street, but it has become a risk.
Well, the nation state of Israel, man, they co-opt everything Jewish, and then they say they're doing everything for the Jews. And so, yes, it becomes controversial. Like it becomes controversial when you see all of the people in Israel doing atrocities and yelling in Hebrew, like a bunch of slurs at brown people. Like, yeah, it becomes controversial. Same with like the Star of David. Like Israel has completely warped that into like the new Nazi symbol. Like it didn't used to be that way. People used to like just see that as a Jewish symbol, but then Israel threw it up on their flag, and then it became, it became what it is now. It's seen as like a hate symbol. Like, I'm sorry, that is the inevitable outcome of Israel's actions of co-opting Judaism in order to facilitate its crimes. That's what happens.
Many parents wonder,
tell them to stop. Tell them to stop. That's what my advice. Tell them to stop doing that.
If they can still speak Hebrew with their children in taxis, or if they can address them.
They can keep speaking Hebrew. I mean, that's fine. It is like, but I mean, I am like, they do need to stop doing their like atrocities, but I do think that it would be a good thing to remove the Star of David from their flag. Like, honestly, I think that would probably be a good thing to do.
Them in Hebrew on the street.
But in a country where the far-right AfD party has established itself as the second largest political force, some Israelis also see naturalization as a form of activism. Dekel Peretz is an historian. He's leading the project to rebuild the Jewish Community Center in Kreuzberg on the very site of a synagogue destroyed by the Nazis.
The main hall was burned down in 1938.
Okay, well, I think I got the gist of this. So I think that, it is interesting to know that their net migration is negative. I do think that will one day lead to either a retreat or collapse of their current expansionist goals. And the leaving, like the net negative migration, I think is going to continue happening as long as they are in a perpetual state of war, which I feel like they are planning to be in a perpetual state of war indefinitely at this point, like just always at war 24/7 forever. That's kind of what I think is going on with Israel right now. So Germany, be prepared to get a lot more. I'm assuming Zionists, like aligned Zionists, ideological Zionists in your country, and be prepared to handle that because it's not going to be good. Zionists are like hysterical, man. They're crazy. So you got to be ready, be prepared. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to skip the Poland one. Let's watch this one about the Late Show, I guess.
And some say
this is also from France 24. So I guess Stephen Colbert is done with the Late Show finally. Stephen Colbert is like my mom's favorite person. Like, she lost. And so I used to watch Colbert back when I was more of a liberal, like back in I don't know, 2015, 2016 maybe. I have a hard time watching Colbert nowadays though. It's just very annoying. I don't know. And sometimes when they're just doing like normal, like everyday Late Show stuff, I don't really mind it that much. But I do think that like when they do delve into the world of politics, I just get so frustrated because they're like so, I don't know, man. I just get annoyed with them, but that's just the nature of late night shows. That's the nature of these like liberal institutions. I'm probably always going to find them annoying since I'm like, since I'm an anti-capitalist at this point, it's like hard for me to really enjoy liberal institutions like that much anymore. But let's go ahead and watch this and see what's going on.
And some say it's the end of an era as U.S. Late Show host Stephen Colbert signs off on his last program and the lights go dark at New York's Ed Sullivan Theater. A huge crowd had gathered outside to say farewell. Colbert hosted the show since 2015.
Wrong. Colbert. Right? Like, you can't do it wrong already. You should have someone covering this who at least has seen the show, I feel like.
But CBS canceled it last year after Colbert mocked the broadcaster for settling a lawsuit with Trump, calling it a big fat bribe. CBS has insisted its decision was purely financial.
Bullshit.
We've got some reaction now to his final show.
Who's going to be my last guest now? Hey, Steve, what about me? Thank God you're here and I need you the most. We came to say we're going to miss you.
Dude, this is straight up like, if you've ever seen that Office episode where they do the skits, like, it was like season 7, I think, when Michael Scott was leaving, the last Undies, when they're doing the skits, like this is giving that vibe right now.
Late night is not going to be the same without you. You say yes, I say no.
Am I wrong?
But I say
Well, to discuss this further, our international affairs commentator Douglas Herbert is here. So the lights go out, as we said. What's the significance of this moment?
Well, it's much more than an end to just a popular late-night television show, because Stephen Colbert clearly redefined the political genre of political satire. He started in an era where comedians would satirize politics, and then politics began satirizing itself.
Okay. So he's talking about, like, okay, there was Jon Stewart and then there was Colbert, right? I think in hindsight, I probably like Jon Stewart better, generally speaking. However, I probably at the time liked Colbert's stuff better. But I'm thinking back to that time period, right? When Colbert and Jon Stewart were popping off as like, going up against like Fox News, or essentially just making fun of like Fox News characters like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and stuff. And they would do like debates with these goobers. And I don't know, we were just so politically unaware back then that I think people thought of that as politics. And that was just like debate lord bullshit. That didn't change anything. And man, it's like crazy. It's like a whole other world to think about those shows back then, how irrelevant they would be at this point in time. How I don't know, man. It just feels like we're in a completely different era. This is kind of wild. I'm thinking back to like how I thought back then too and stuff. And like, I just don't even know if I would recognize myself in terms of like my current, I wouldn't, obviously America is like so far like down the like fascist pipeline as well. I don't know if obviously like this sort of like liberal, debate lord sort of style, or like not even debate lord, but like liberal commentary politics is so irrelevant, I think, at this point to at least the younger generation as to being anything. Sorry, I think one of my cats is like fussing, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to think back on.
So he transcended, and he also straddled the entire Trump years. His rising to the helm at CBS at The Late Show and taking over from David Letterman back in 2015 coincided with Trump going up that golden escalator, and he was really at The Late Show during all of the Trump years, with Biden in between, obviously. You said, is it the end of an era? The chief television critic of the New York Times asked, well, maybe the era ended him. And what he's really meaning there is what a lot of people watching this sense is that there's a clear political dimension. Yes, CBS, as you said, cited financial reasons, but a lot of people, and especially Colbert's fans.
Well, it's CBS, like it's Barry Weiss's owned. I wouldn't doubt that there was some, political coercion to do this. I just don't really care that much, to be honest. I don't think of these liberal shows as being like bastions of truth telling, and I don't think of them as in any way challenging actual power at all. I think they're feel goods, like they do like feel good shit for resistance libs. Like that's kind of like how the vibe that I get. Sorry, mom. Like I'm sorry. That's the vibe that I get. Like I don't think that they really have any sort of like they don't challenge power at all. They don't they barely like I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not really losing sleep over it. I don't really care. Get another person in there, it'll probably be very similar. Colbert is entertaining, he's charismatic, so there's that.
Think the timing is very suspicious, given the fact that there had been CBS's parent company, making in the course of an acquisition, wanting to endear itself perhaps to Trump's Federal Communications Commission, get a good deal. So there's a lot of politics. It's financial, sure, there might be financial reasons. The media landscape's changing, broadcast television's changing. People are now in their little, bracketed ecosystems in their own bubbles, but also political. The sense among Colbert's fans that what made him different, the reason his star showed very bright in the sort of the galaxy of late night hosts, he brought a sort of empathy and compassion and a sense of humanity. One person said that he had a unique ability to be human. And a lot of his fans would say things. You listen to what they say. He used humor to bring joy and to hold power accountable. And his punchlines are almost like an act of resistance.
That's what I'm saying, man. I think it's a lot of feel good shit. It's not as feel good as like Jimmy Fallon, I guess, or Ellen DeGeneres. Like, it is a lot of like feel good nonsense, like humor that is not very challenging or, in my opinion, not very interesting. And these, like, he's talking about it as like an act of resistance. And that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of like resistance liberals feel like he has some sort of, like he is actually in some way challenging power or challenging Trump. I just don't think so, man. I just don't think so. He might be getting canceled because of like political grievances, but that's because Trump is just a narcissistic, like petty person. And CBS might be getting rid of him, in order to acquiesce to that narcissism or to that pettiness. But he's not getting rid of him because he thinks that Colbert is going to like convince all of the wine moms across the country to like rise up and take up arms against the government or something. Like I don't think they're really that afraid of these people in any way, shape, or form of actually like challenging power. I think what they're more scared of are, the more individual, non-corporate aligned personalities on the internet. The people like, I'm going to go ahead and say Hassan, right? Like, I think they're actually scared of Hassan, judging by how many articles are written by every institution against him. There's not that many institutions that are writing articles against Colbert. And so, like, I think that they're much more scared of like individual commentators who aren't corporate backed and don't necessarily have the same incentive structure that a lot of these people have, if I had to guess.
He made people, in the words of one fan, feel less insane at a time when the country, the United States, seems to be losing its mind. And people would all come together and sort of coalesce around his show. Like I said, it was a rendezvous. It was a place where you could still have a political space to express yourself. He got a lot of accolades from a lot of smart, creative, intelligent people. Bruce Springsteen, had said to him just a few nights ago on his show, basically joking that you are the first guy in America who lost his show because we got a president who couldn't take a joke. So you had a lot of that. And what's interesting is one media critic said that future historians who are looking to understand the Trump era, rather than going through all the backclip newspaper, articles and stuff, would do very well to watch Stephen Colbert's monologues, because they really seem to encapsulate it. But I think the big takeaway is this sense of human.
Man. If you want, I guess if you want to understand maybe the daily existence of this time, that's not a terrible idea. But I think that I don't know. Maybe that would be a good way to get. Maybe that would be fine, I guess, if you want to understand the daily existence. But I don't think historians usually care that much about understanding the daily existence of these time periods. I think they care more about the broad strokes, like what's happening, and I think that that'll be found in the big aspects of Trump. This might be a footnote in there potentially, but
humanity and a sense that he was everything for his fans that Trump never was. He didn't have vainglory. He wasn't about himself. He was a man who really was able to be personal with his subjects and to really empathize with them and what they've lived and what they've experienced.
And now, this isn't, though, Doug, just a U.S. thing, is it? We're kind of seeing this across the board?
Yeah, we are. I mean, yes, in the U.S., the fans of Colbert Show, they're saying this is sort of a big sign in an ongoing campaign by Trump, his all-out assault on critical dissenting voices and on democracy itself. But let's bring it across the pond, right here in France. You do have a coalescing, it seems, in recent years of right-wing, far-right media around one is a big empire in particular. I sort of liken it maybe to the Murdochs in the past, or in the U.S., the David and Larry Ellisons at the head of these big media conglomerates. A Breton billionaire named Vincent Bolloré has sort of accumulated in his big media portfolio as
yeah, I mean, it's media consolidation. That's what it is. It's media consolidation. It's the natural state of capitalism. Like, if you're not willing to stop this from happening, like, to be honest, I don't really like that news organizations can really be for profit at all. Personally, I kind of think that news organizations should either be like nonprofits or they should be like publicly owned, or they should be co-op structures. Like, I really don't like the profit incentive for news media. But then also, not only that, I also don't like the I don't think that they should be able to be individually owned at all, because I don't think any individual should have that much power over the that much power and control over the dissemination of information. I also don't think that companies like social, in the same vein, I don't necessarily think social media companies and stuff should be like individually owned either, because of that exact same reason. Because I just don't think that, like, and so like putting them as nonprofits is like one way that would, I think, disincentivize billionaires from buying these things. But also I think that I could see that they have like the desire to use them as tools to accumulate capital. Like, they would take a loss on like buying a social media company or a news organization so that they can, pump out their propaganda and then, make money in their other endeavors. So it's sort of like the Elon Musk Twitter model, essentially. So, but yeah, okay, I'm going to move on now. I think that's good enough on Colbert. Got to talk a little bit about media consolidation and Trump, I guess, getting Colbert fired. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read an article now. This one is going to be, this one I think should be kind of fun. Politics, 3 minutes read. I assume that means that it should take about 3 minutes, but it'll probably take a little longer because I like to give commentary. Okay, so everybody remembers. I'm gonna take you back real quick. The year is, I think it's October 2025. 1 second. September. Okay. It's September 2025, a brisk, cool morning. And Charlie Kirk has set up a a tent on a campus like he is wont to do. 1 sec, my camera is sort of, why is my camera being weird? One second. Okay, hopefully that fixes it. I think that fixed it. Okay, sorry. Okay, so then a horrific tragedy happened. It may or may not have been the Egyptians or the Mossad or Erica Kirk or whoever, whatever you think happened, I am all for your particular pet conspiracy about what happened. But something happened, and he was no longer alive. And if you remember correctly, the time period that happened after that was insane. The media environment was insane. They were trying to essentially put his face on everything. They had a literal acknowledgement at, I think, like a football game or something, I don't know where it was, like in New York, or like the Jets or something had like a acknowledgement of the heroism of Charlie Kirk or whatever. Like there was this time period, right, where we were trying to be forced to venerate this terrible, terrible person. For those unaware, I am not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I call him a Klansman in a button-up. That was basically who he was. And so they were trying to force us all to venerate him. And I remember telling my friend, I was like, he texted me and he was like, man, this is going crazy. And I told him, I was like, give it some time. Give it some time. Let's wait and see what his actual legacy will be, because we can't tell. It's so soon after it. This could all fade away and he could be completely forgotten. And lo and behold, I was wrong. He was not completely forgotten. He turned into a meme. So even worse than being forgotten, he turned into a meme. But during that time period, though, before he became a meme, a bunch of people were getting fired, were getting I don't know. I guess this guy apparently got thrown in jail for posting Charlie Kirk memes. But now that he's a meme, everybody's having fun with it. Right wingers, left wingers, Drewski, everybody's just memeing on Charlie left and right. And so now it seems like almost like hilarious to think back to like the amount of the amount of time and effort they put into like trying to silence anybody who was memeing on Charlie Kirk. So let's go ahead and read this article. This is about a retired cop who was jailed over Charlie Kirk meme, settles unlawful incarceration lawsuit for over $800,000, which good for him, man. Get your bag. Like, you got to do what you got to do. I'm also not a huge fan of cops, but at least he's retired. So. Okay, let's see what we got here. A retired Tennessee law enforcement officer who was held in jail for more than a month after police arrested him over a Facebook post of a meme related to the assassination of Charlie Kirk has settled an unlawful incarceration lawsuit for $835,000. That is nice. That is a nice bag. That is 2 American houses. The average house of the average price of a house in America is $400,000. So that is impressive. It's a settlement too, it sounds like, right? Yeah, it's a settlement. So he probably could have got more if he went to, if he went to trial. Usually settlements are less than what the actual amount they think it would be worth, or like amount they think they would lose otherwise would be. So under the deal announced Wednesday, Larry Bouchard agreed to drop the 5-month-old case alleging that his constitutional rights were violated when officials in Perry County, Tennessee held him in jail for 37 days last fall. I'm curious, though, about all of the other people who were fired from their jobs, right? I know that that's if you're working in private, like in the private sector, I don't necessarily think you have much recourse in that particular circumstance, because in the private sector, people can fire you for whatever. We don't have very strong regulations about that. So it's not like your speech outside of work can they can fire you for that in America in the private sector. In the public sector, however, I do think their free speech would have been violated in the exact same way. So I'm curious if there's any public sector employees out there who are going to see this and be like, okay, my time to shine now. I kind of hope so, because it's ridiculous. It was ridiculous at the time that you couldn't like meme on this, like I say, Klansman in a button up for dying or whatever in America, where we have free speech and like these public institutions were like trying to cancel people like that. It definitely, when it comes to the public sector, I don't think you're allowed to do that. But anyway, he says, I'm pleased my First Amendment rights have been vindicated, Bouchard said in a statement Wednesday. The people's freedom to participate in civil discourse is crucial to healthy democracy. It's just civil and uncivil discourse as well. I don't pretend like it's not like, you know, like shit slinging. Like it is, you're in the mud when you're doing like these types of memes and stuff or whatever. But I mean, I think, you know, I think people should be allowed to shit sling and to you know, engage in maybe not the most like politically correct discussions online without being, you know, thrown in jail or whatever. Personally, that's my personal opinion. The case, which Bouchard brought with the help of lawyers from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, had been set to go to trial in late July before a federal jury in Memphis. He had not asked for a specific amount of money in the lawsuit. I mean, it was 37 days in jail. You know, that is like 1 month, you know, of his rights being violated. So 835,000. Sure. I think that, I mean, I'm all for these settlements being as big as possible because the people who are settling them have like infinite money. So it's like, well, who cares, you know? Like if this is from the police or wherever, the police, is it from, yeah, I'm curious. I'm assuming it's a police department and they have unlimited money. So I would say that that's fine. Where was I? Bouchard's lawyer said in court papers last year that the client, who is the primary breadwinner for his house, lost his post-retirement job because of his time in jail, and that episode had stifled his participation in online political conversation because he is afraid that something like his arrest and incarceration might happen to him again. That's a very valid reason for why he should get a large settlement. And well, actually, I would say that they should, if it had gone to trial, they should have been punished even harder. Whether he got the full amount, they should have punished the other people with punitive damages for doing this, because we can't have people doing this. People need to feel like they're allowed to say shit, you know? I do think that is important. Even if what you're saying is just, like I said, mudslinging or whatever. His legal woes first started 10 days after Kirk, a longtime supporter of President Donald Trump who worked to get him reelected in 2024, was fatally shot during an outdoor event in Utah Valley University on September 10th. Bouchard shared a meme on Facebook about a vigil being held in Tennessee for Kirk. Again, insane. They were holding vigils. They were holding, like, it was a wild time, man. That like 3 week period before Candace Owens, like, you know, had her way with the Charlie Kirk narrative, like brutally and violently took that narrative and, you know, did what she wanted with it. Before that happened, man, it was a wild time. This seems relevant today, read the meme, which included a photo of Trump and a quote the then candidate made in 2024 following a shooting at Perry High School in Des Moines, Iowa. This seems relevant today. I don't know the meme that he posted. We have to get over it, Trump is quoted as saying in the meme regarding the high school shooting. Oh, I guess that's what it was. You know, it was the great irony, the immense amount of irony that was Charlie Kirk getting killed by a shooting while actively facilitating as many school shootings as he possibly can, right? Like, he was trying, you know, he's a Second Amendment guy who doesn't want any sort of, you know, regulation or whatever. Like it was just incredibly ironic, and that's why people were having fun with it. If it hadn't been so ironic, then people probably wouldn't have had as much fun with it. Also, if he wasn't a terrible person, people probably wouldn't have as much fun with it either. 4 officers came to Bouchard's home the next day, arrested him, and took him to jail for threatening mass violence at a school. Oh my God. Authorities at the time said that the post was understood locally to be a threat to an area school that has a similar name to the one where the 2024 shooting occurred, according to court records. That's insane, man. I guarantee that was a mass reporting thing, like some like shit or like libs of TikTok style account or something, like found him, put him on a list somewhere, put him on a Discord server somewhere, and then everybody, you know, called the cops, or like called the cops on this one guy. Like that's how these things usually happen. Bouchard was held behind bars for 37 days because he was unable to pay the $2 million bond for memeing about Charlie Kirk. That's crazy. $2 million. Holy shit, man. In late October, a district attorney in Tennessee moved to drop the single charge brought against him, and he was subsequently released. Oh, man, it was wild. His lawsuit charged Perry County, Nick Weems, the county sheriff, and Jason Morrow, a county investigator involved in the probe into Bouchard, with a series of constitutional infringements, including violations of his free speech rights and his Fourth Amendment rights against wrongful arrest, wrongful prosecution, and wrongful incarceration. So, okay, he charged Perry County, so the county itself, Nick Weems, the county sheriff, and Jason Morrow, a county investigator. So he charged 2 individuals and 1, entity, the county itself. I would guess that 90% of this settlement is probably coming from the county. These people probably got off pretty lucky, if I had to guess. But I don't exactly know how that works when you have multiple plaintiffs. If it's the judge who determines the split of damages, like who pays what. This is a settlement, so I assume that's determined by the lawyers. I don't know. Under the settlement, the county, Weems, and Morrow are not admitting any wrongdoing in last year's ordeal. The county's insurer will pay the settlement. The county's insurer is paying all of it. There you go, people. And they're not admitting to any wrongdoing. Yeah, well, I didn't expect them to. As sheriff, there is no responsibility I take more seriously than protecting the children in our community, who are some of the most vulnerable among us, Weems said, a joint statement released as part of the settlement. Okay. Ensuring their safety is not just a duty of this office, it is a commitment I carry with me every single day. I'm happy to have the matter resolved, and I look forward to continuing to serve and protect the people of Perry County. I think that he's using these children that he claims to be trying to protect as human shields right now. I don't think that's why. I think he's like, he is trying to be like, I had to do it because there was a chance. Because he truly, I guess, believed that this guy who posted a Charlie Kirk meme about, or not even a meme, he just said, we have to get over it. A person who posted the words, we have to get over it, about this shooting. I don't know how he believed that he was protecting children by throwing that person in jail. Like I said, I think he's using them as human shields. Okay, well, there you go, people. That is the story of retired cop Larry Bouchard, sticking it to the man, free speech warrior. Comedy is legal again, everybody. There was a brief moment after Charlie Kirk's death where comedy was no longer legal, but I'm happy to tell you that comedy is legal again. We can all make jokes about Charlie Kirk and not fear going to jail, because if we do, we get $800,000. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that situation we're currently living in. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to x.com. I'm going to scroll around on there. Let's see. I think my wife is doing something at 11, but I might do some gaming. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Let's see. Jobs where you get rewarded for failing to accomplish basic tasks. Streamers, cops, CEOs, DNC. Yeah. Streamers is, I think that one's actually not, that's probably the one that you would not get rewarded the most out of all of them. I think the other 3 you get rewarded a lot more for your incompetence. We already talked a lot about the DNC autopsy though. Let's see.
I have to compromise on trans issues at all, because if you just give people something to vote for rather than constantly vote against the Republicans, then you don't have to fucking talk about the trans shit at all.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with Kamala. She got defined by Trump for her like trans, like she's for they, them, and we're for you, like that messaging from Trump. She got defined by the GOP for that because she was unable to actually like tie any real policy proposals to her name that would have been better. Like, so yeah, that was kind of her failure
at all. Then you look silly. Your opposition looks silly. If you're like, hey, I am going to improve your life. I'm going to improve your life. I'm going to fight to improve your life no matter what. That is my primary focus, is my primary purpose. That's all I want to do, is improve your motherfucking life. And here are the ways I'm going to do that. We're going to fix public transit in this country. We're going to do high-speed rail in this country. We're going to do, jobs guarantee, federal.
He's just repeating all the same shit I said. Okay, let's see what else we got. Ooh. I don't want to read about that. Sorry. That's too sad. So Laura Loomer says, you weren't even born here. Go back to where you came from. Classic Lauren Loomer move right there. But then he says, cool story. Anyway, here's you eating dog food. There you go. Just have fun with it. These people are, they're ghouls. See a problem. Fox News says, see a problem, become a part of the solution. Erica Kirk is backing Spencer Pratt's LA mayoral run, calling his campaign authentically American and refreshing because he isn't taking or talking like a career politician. Okay, cool. Pope Leo. Is he coming after Trump again, or is he restarting the Twitter beef? Let's see. Let's find out. No nation, no society, and no international order can call itself just and humane if it measures its success solely by power or prosperity, while neglecting those who live at the margins. Indeed, Christ's love for the least and the forgotten compels us to reject every form of selfishness that leaves the poor and the vulnerable invisible. Yeah, I mean, right on, Pope Leo. Woke ass Pope Leo trying to start his Twitter beef with Donald Trump again. Let's see, Dean Cain. Oh, yikes. That's a lot of Israeli flags. Father, filmmaker. Okay. Rugged individualist. This dude. Okay. Sure, buddy. Sure. I'm sure you are. Hassan confirms he will fly to NYC this weekend to support Daria Liza Avila Chevalier. Oh, those are some sick glasses. I like those. DSA candidate for New York 13. Cool. Go DSA. If DSA endorses them, if she's a member of DSA, then yeah, that's awesome. This guy. New all-time high. Abdul El Sayed has a 63% chance to win the Michigan Democratic Senate primary. Is this on Kalshi? Oh God. Look, it all changed. It all changed as soon as they started going after Hassan, man. They really like screwed themselves up. But this guy says the Democrat Party is slowly being taken over by socialists and Islamists. Here, I'm gonna reply. You're damn right. You are getting free health care whether you want it or not, motherfucker. That's funny. Okay, let's keep going. Wow. Go birds, fuck ice, free Palestine. Nice. Well, there's a steady flow of flotillas going over to, or like trying to break the siege on Gaza. And they're doing God's work out there, honestly. I'm sure if Jesus was alive, he'd be on these flotillas as well, trying to get aid into Gaza. But yeah, they're being systematically attacked and beaten in prison. I think I've heard that some of them have been sexually abused as well. The only, most moral army in the world, right, people? Do you remember when they used to use that one? They've really dropped the most moral army in the world stuff lately. I guess they found it was a little too unbelievable now, but okay. Hassan Piker confirms Ashley St. Clair will be on the broadcast this Saturday. Okay, and then this person says Elon's going to kill himself. One can only hope. I think this is one of his like daughters or something, right? Or is it his ex? I can't really tell, to be honest. I don't know. I'm not that involved in the Elon cinematic universe. Who's this? Oh, I can't listen to that. I think this is when they went to drag brunch. This is one of those tables, though. I'm assuming if you go to drag brunch or whatever, you know, you gotta be like a high roller if you're gonna get the center, like, large table. Like, they're expecting you to drop like thousands of dollars, I think, if you rent out this table at drag brunch. So I don't know if I'll ever sit at one of those. Who is? Yeah, this isn't Trump, right? This is someone else. Nathan Lane is what he said. I noticed that on this picture, but this is AI, right? I thought I saw the original and I thought it looked like Trump, but maybe I didn't focus that much on it. That's not Nathan. Is that Nathan Lane? It's maybe. Oh yeah, it does look like him. Wait a second. I have to assume that this is like a Photoshop or something, but this is him, right? Like, isn't that guy? Like that's the exact same face. Yeah. Whoever it is, it's not Donald Trump. Also, Matt the G, or like what is this? MAA, like what are the other letters in this fold here? That doesn't make any sense either. Also, wait, dude, I'm so confused now. This image is breaking my brain. This flag is wrong too. Everything is wrong with this. This has to be AI. This has to be Photoshop. Am I wrong? Look, the flag, the stars are supposed to be on the other side. They're supposed to be close to the pole, and like everything is wrong with this. This is perplexing. Is this like? Okay, I have to click on this. I have to know what's going on. Yeah, like this part, right? That's not right. See, this is why I'm assuming that it's like, it has to be fake. This has to be fake. This has to be fake, right? I don't know. The flag is wrong too. Okay, I have to. Is this guy for real? I don't understand. One second. Is this like a troll account? I don't know, man. I don't need to respond. I'm just like perplexed at this tattoo. This is like a work of art, how wrong this is. Okay, let's move on. I can't take it. I never trust anything these people say, by the way, about like what they're which places they're targeting or whatever, because 9 times out of 10, when you actually look into the place that these pro-Palestinian protesters are targeting, it usually has to do with like actual, you know, people who have like served in the IDF, people who have committed war crimes, like, you know, it's like actual, you know, they're going after like atrocity committers, like. So yeah, I would never trust anybody saying that they're you know, I would have to look into it to know for sure if they are just targeting it because it's Jewish, but 9 times out of 10, that's not the reason. Oh, all charges against Kat Abu Ghazala have been dropped.
Hey, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty fucking good. Why do you feel better? Yeah, I'd say it's an okay day.
Love you guys. Yeah, maybe I should just scream a Hey.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, they dropped all of her charges. Great, that's awesome. I mean, all of this happens every time, man. They charge people all the time for free speech stuff. We just read an article about it, and then they end up having to drop it because there's no standing, there's no ground, and it's just like a big fat waste of time. But and it's annoying that they're allowed to do this. But usually, on average, our judicial system still functions to some extent to stop them from doing the worst aspects of lawfare. So, okay, what do we got? The rise in Time. He's on Time magazine. Graham Plattner is on Time magazine. The fuck? This is insane, man. We live in crazy times. He's a person running for Senate in Maine, an oyster farmer who is just anti-establishment, and he's on the cover of Time magazine. That's insane. The rise of scandal-plagued Democrat Graham Plattner. I guess it just goes to show how much motion he's got. Elizabeth Peepko, who is that? No idea. Judging by her photo, though, either an AI or a media ghoul. So Donald Trump was Hitler, and all of us are Nazis for a rally at Madison Square Garden. But the far left candidate with a Nazi tattoo is celebrated. You don't hate the media enough. First of all, it's Time magazine. I don't think he's probably getting celebrated that much. Second of all, Donald Trump is very similar to Hitler. I mean, that's like just, we can make factual comparisons. That's fine. The MAGA movement is very much aligned with like Nazism. There's a large Nazi segment of that movement, like just straight up open neo-Nazis. So that is also true. And also, dude, people don't do you need to, I don't understand why people don't just look this up. Look, Nazism, look it up, look up Nazism. It's the first fucking sentence, the first sentence on any dictionary, anything you ever look up. Nazism, formerly named National Socialism, is the far right, ultranationalist, totalitarian ideology. Far right. It's right there in the description. It is literally the definition of Nazism to be far right. There is no such thing as a far left Nazi. It does not exist. There has never been a far left Nazi movement because leftism is not aligned with Nazism. It's just not. If anyone pretends like they are of the left and they are a Nazi, they're just using it to grift. That's all there is to it. So, okay. Let's see. I'm going to try to find one good one, and then I'm probably going to get out of here. Something that I can talk about for 5 or 10 minutes. Kareem is reading A Farewell to Arms. I don't know this person, but it says Martin Luther King Jr. was a socialist. Malcolm X was a socialist. Fred Hampton was a socialist. Angela Davis was a socialist. Webb Du Bois was a socialist. I don't know that person. Elaine Brown was a socialist. James Baldwin was a socialist. Are you sensing a theme here? It's this in response to the socialist movement is wider than MAGA. I will say that the current iteration of socialism, which we're rebuilding right now, right? Socialists and communists were purged from American politics for a long period of time. And so socialists and communists are starting to rebuild. The current version of it is very white. I'm not going to lie. They're but historically speaking, though, socialist and communist movements were led by Black people and people of color, generally speaking. And I think that I think that there is still, there's still obviously a lot of diversity in the socialist movement, but I'd say it is wider than it used to be. But I think that as conditions worsen, we will see hopefully a resurgence of Black socialism as well, because I think any socialism without a strong Black socialist movement inside of it is probably doomed to fail, especially in America. So, okay, what else we got? The Nick Shirley, who's this? Dr. Oz. On Dr. Oz, on our way to Minnesota, where fraudsters are about to lure a hard lesson on stealing from the American taxpayer. I honestly thought that he was making fun of Nick Shirley by saying this. I didn't until I realized who it was who said it. I thought this was just some account like making fun of how Nick Shirley can't talk or whatever because he can't. He's illiterate, dude. So I thought that's what he was making fun of. I don't know what he's actually making fun of when he says that. If this is Dr. Oz, I'm assuming that they are. Oh, I see on his shirt it says luring center. So, okay, this is just this is just racist agitprop, just bare minimum, or like slopaganda, I guess is what some people call it. Okay, Fox News says Hooters says it's going family friendly. CEO Neil Kiefer says the restaurant chain wants to return to its roots as a beach themed neighborhood spot that families, couples, and regulars feel comfortable walking into, he told People magazine. Kiefer blamed years of private equity ownership for pushing the brand further and further away from what it originally stood for, including uniforms, he says, became overly sexualized. Now, after buying the brand back out of bankruptcy, the original owners say they're trying to re-Hooterize Hooters. There's nothing wrong with a pair of shorts if fitted properly, but I think in a dining place there's something wrong if they're in a thong uniform. I don't know if this is gonna work, man. In general, I think a lot of people are kind of over the whole restaurant movement that was like really peaked in like 2000 with like reactionary, like the most reactionary forms of masculinity that existed back then. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I don't think go out to eat like ever anymore. You know, they're just in like zooted out in front of their screens or whatever 24/7. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I do think that the younger generations really don't go to restaurants in general that often. The thing that I think that this is probably going to backfire, because I think the only people who still go to fucking Hooters are horny old men who want to look at women like and leer at women and like be put in situations where women aren't allowed to run away from them. Like that's what I think. Like, and that's what I think their primary demographic is at this point. And so I feel like this is going to backfire, but I don't know. What do I know? You can try it out. I don't give a shit if Hooters goes belly up or not. Like, I never go there anymore. I would never. I am happily married. I would never go to Hooters unless my wife wanted to. Then if she wanted to, then I would say fine. Okay, let's try to find a funnier one. J6ers are kind of funny. Nancy Mace is proposing a ban on foreign-born citizens from serving in Congress. Okay, buddy. What? Okay, $2.4 billion out of nowhere. Don't know where he got it from. Definitely not out of the military budget, though. Zoran Mamdani is joining Twitch for a new series titled Talk with the People. He will respond to questions asked by the public in his Twitch chat, aiming to create a direct line of conversation between the government and the people. Cool idea. Hassan says, Zoran about to find out that dealing with chat is harder than Albany. Yeah, if you got a big chat, which you will, you got to get some moderators in there. Benjamin Netanyahu, he won in Kentucky's 4th district. He did. I mean, with that Galwayne guy or whatever his name is. An Israeli unit's homecoming party featured a display of their well-documented annihilation of southern Lebanon village, just war crimes. Look, they're straight up just like publishing their war crimes. Man, it is crazy, dude. They are a defective society. Something's wrong over there. They need help. Okay, let's get something fun, man. Oh, okay. We can get a little inspiration. How about an inspirational one to go out on? If there's not gonna be anything funny, which I'm not seeing anything that funny showing up. Oh, wait, here's one. Here's a skit. Skits are supposed to be funny. Okay, people, let's watch a skit from David Hogg, the Hog. My initial thoughts on DNC Autopsy release. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's see what the Hog has to say about the DNC Autopsy release.
All right, this is it, people. Let's move. Let's go, go, go.
The Democrats made a huge deal about the fact that they were going to release an autopsy that delved into everything regarding what.
This isn't funny. This isn't funny, David Hogg. This isn't a skit. You tricked me. You tricked me.
Wrong with the 2024 election. Let's just do a quick Command F and look through what is talked about here. When we go into inflation, there are 18 results, except every single one of them doesn't talk about inflation in the country. It's just about adjusting for inflation when talking about fundraising for the presidential cycle. When we go through...
I didn't search for inflation. I searched for Israel and Palestine, but that is wild that they didn't talk about Bidenomics at all, which was like a huge factor into why everybody didn't want to vote for Kamala.
And look up Gaza, for example. 0 results in 200 pages.
I did that too.
Maybe they just said Israel. 0 results for 200 pages. Let's see age. All it's giving me is page, not age. Okay, going down to the end. And are you fucking
no
kidding
conclusions?
Me? This section was not provided by the author. There's literally no conclusion. Let me read this one sentence. The problem wasn't Democratic policy or party brand. What the fuck do you mean it wasn't Democratic policy or party brand? That is what decided the election. Our brand is everything. Our candidates are our brand. I don't know how the fuck else to say this and make it more clear, but if our party cannot come together and rise up and show people that we're the people fighting for the little guy, that we're the people fighting against the special interests that are making your life so much harder, we don't have much of a future as a party. I ran to be a voice in that room for our generation.
Yeah, and guess what? He was told to get the fuck out because he was saying actual things. I'm telling you, this is what I said at the very beginning. The DNC does not reward competence. You are not supposed to go in there and actually help the party win by telling them what they need to hear in order to win, because they don't care about winning. They care about pleasing their donors. So that's exactly why, man.
That they often don't want to listen to. Only for them to publish this report and not talk about the very thing that thousands of young people were protesting about on college campuses around the country. Not talk about the underlying economic conditions that made so many young people feel like they have no future in this country. We didn't need an autopsy to tell us the Democratic Party doesn't know what the fuck they are doing right now.
Well, there you go. I mean, I agree with that. David Hogg, you know, I did a much longer analysis on my thoughts on the autopsy at the beginning of the stream. So if people want to hear that, you can rewind and watch that. I'll clip it tomorrow morning for all of you guys. So, okay, well, let me see. Do I want a game? One sec. I think, guys, I'm gonna call it. My wife is doing some stuff for she's gonna be like hosting some party or something on Discord, so I don't want to be talking while she's doing that. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I thought it was a pretty good one. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. And this has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye bye.